Hello and welcome back to the Technically Speaking podcast. I am your host, Ethan, joined today by the very warm and sweaty Shay.
I am so warm. Please send help. Send ice. Send ice.
It would melt before it got there.
Oh.
You join us in the middle of a heat wave as we are boiling away. We are going to talk about it. The theme today is very on point for the heat wave.
It is a bit, yeah. It is.
So we're talking about the Amazon Fire Max tablet.
Don't mention fire in front of me.
Shay has a special for you guys. Do you want to explain what it is?
Yes, I'm going to be talking about how to cool your PC in these heat wavy times.
And then finally, I'm very excited to talk about nothing. Let's get into it. So first on the agenda is the Amazon Fire Max tablet. So this is the new kind of higher end Amazon tablets. You know, like I've talked about them in the past, where you could use them as a smart home hub because they're cheap, effective wee tablets that work well as a smart home hub with a screen.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Yeah.
They're now releasing the Fire Max, which has keyboard and stylus support.
Oh.
And then spec-wise, it's coming with an 11-inch screen, so same as the baseline Model Pro for an iPad. And for your reference, Shay, that's the same size as my iPad.
Ah, okay.
And then it has a 2000 by 1200 resolution with the choice of either 64 or 128 gigabytes of internal storage. And this is actually something I quite like. They have support for a micro SD card that can add up to 1 terabyte of additional storage.
Nice.
Yeah, you don't even see that on phones nowadays. I think it's a nice addition to have. So but it almost begs the question: why would you go for the 128?
Yeah, that's why I'm literally about to ask you that. Well, why would you even bother? Go for the 64 and buy a micro SD card.
Yeah, but it's nice it has there. It's one of the only tablets I think on the higher end of the market that would support expandable storage.
No, I definitely do like that decision. That's a very good one.
Yeah, and then it has a MediaTek MT8188J octa-core processor. Now,
octa-core.
That means 8.
I know what octa means. I'm not that dumb.
So, what that probably doesn't mean an awful lot to too many people, but it means it has decent processing power. It's not going to win many awards, but it's pretty decent processing power. It has just under an 8-hour battery with a very oddly specific 7 hours and 55 minutes.
That is very specific.
Stated battery life. And all of this for $229.99.
That's quite reasonable.
That's quite reasonable. I think it'll be a strong wee tablet. Good. I would say it would probably be a good secondary device to have if you have, your laptop and you need like a secondary screen to maybe research things while you write out and do your work. I think it'll fit quite nicely. Although it is quite limited because it is running Amazon's OS.
Right.
It is, but which has limited app selection, and it doesn't really have it doesn't really update and get new versions, much like, Android or iOS or, iPadOS in this instance would receive.
Okay.
And it also has a rather limited selection of what apps you could use. So, as you know, I wasn't able to get Google Maps even working on it, even after doing some modifications to my Fire tablet. So
it's very, very specific on what you're looking to do with it then.
Yeah.
If you actually buy it.
That is, hardware wise, it is excellent, but I think that is where it will fall short, is the software inside it.
Yeah, I was going to say, for that good of a price, what's the catch? And that seems to be it.
That seems to be. Although, the nice thing about the software, if you are running, like an Amazon Alexa smart home, it is fully integrated with that.
True,
and the Amazon ecosystem, so it'll be integrated with your Ring doorbells.
Fair enough, yeah.
So I think it's for someone in the market for a tablet at that price range, I think it's pretty reasonable.
Absolutely, I think I agree with you.
But anything a wee bit, higher, more beastly. I would say it's not really in that.
It could take notes for you.
It could, but on what app?
Yeah, on what app? On the already installed notes, probably.
I'm not even sure it has a built-in notes app.
Oh no. But never mind, it can't take notes for you.
But yeah, with that expandable storage, the long battery life, I think it'll work great for, an e-reader with a bigger screen, or a secondary display to maybe play some music. If you need to do some very light work that, you can use the specific apps or web versions of the apps, then I think it'll work quite well.
I don't know why you would do this, but could use it as an external storage device. External hard drive.
At that stage, you might as well just get a micro SD card reader instead.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, maybe you need a screen. I don't know why you would, but...
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't think I could give my recommendation to anybody specifically, because I just don't know anyone that specifically would need a tablet at that price range. That wouldn't be better just buying a Tab A7 Lite.
Yeah.
It's got a slightly smaller screen, but it's cheaper.
Maybe it's a good YouTube watching device.
See, I don't know if you can get YouTube on them, because
you're joking.
It does the Amazon OS. It from what I remember of it, it's not very cooperative.
Right.
With Google Apps.
Really? Wow. Oh, I mean, it's a good price, but...
I think the better choice is, looking at just $30 more, you can get the Lenovo Tab.
Yeah, for only $30 more.
And it's, you have better integration with, because it is on the Android.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just a better choice, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know a single person that I could recommend that Amazon Fire Max 2.
Yeah, unless you specifically need support for a micro SD card.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, in the modern day, I don't really know where you would.
I can't even remember the last time I seen a micro SD card.
That's what we use in my work all the time for recording footage. That's the only time I've ever seen one in my life.
The only time I see them if I open up in work, if I open up someone's phone that's very old and it has one in it, and 90% of the time they're corrupted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, but I unless you're doing a smart home, Amazon smart home, and you want a screen for your smart home or something,
then you'd just be better buying the cheaper version.
Exactly.
It's a very odd product.
It is, yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It is very weird that they've actually made it, because I don't see much of a reason.
I can't quite remember off the top of my head, but that Google smart home integration thing that was the tablet also was a smart home wasn't much more expensive than this, if I remember. It was only
it was
300, was it?
No, it was a bit more expensive than that.
350?
Because that was one I was going to buy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it was over 400.
Oh, it was over 400. I was going to say.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because that would be a much better choice if you wanted to have a smart home / tablet integration, but you wanted a more reliable tablet than the wee Fire tabs, But,
yeah.
Oh, well, I guess we'll just watch and see what happens with it.
$5.99 for the Google tablet.
Yeah, that is a bit more, to be fair.
That's over double.
Yeah.
And that's pounds, not dollars.
So yeah. But I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting that they felt the need to even do this.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a bit weird, really, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one and all to the first premiere of Shay's Heatwave special.
Please never do that ever again. Dear God.
Not even any warning.
No warning at all.
Much like the heatwave.
Much like the... Oh, don't say heat in front of me. It's awful. Yeah,
right,
so
let's
currently
talk about cooling.
Yeah, here in Northern Ireland, we've got a bit of a heatwave going on. And it sucks so much. Oh, I've gone through so much ice cream in the past 2 weeks. Trying to stay cool.
Ice pops are the way to go, man.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've got some poly pineapples downstairs.
Oh, deadly.
Good poly pineapple. But yes, anyway, cooling. So, because
Enough
it's
cooling
very
yourself.
warm, yes. Not talking about cooling you, talking about cooling PCs today. So we are. I've actually just cleaned out my PC this morning as well.
Oh, very productive.
Woke up and thought, I'm going to do that. I've done that in a while.
This is the first time I've turned my PC on in a while. I've turned it on twice this week. Both of the times I was with you because it's too warm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to PC cooling is, I wouldn't say the age-old argument, but fan cooling versus water cooling. We both have fan cooling PCs, isn't that right?
I have massive fans.
We are massive fans of fan cooling. you have two massive fans. But yeah, fan cooling versus water cooling. I like fan cooling a lot more than I like water cooling. Water cooling has its advantages. Fan cooling has its advantages. Water cooling, if you want a quiet PC, water cooling is perfect. It does cost a bit more though.
Yeah.
And it's a bit more annoying because if you have to clean those tubes, those water cooling tubes, you have to completely flood the system and then fully clean it out, which is a pain in the ass.
This is why I went for fan cooling, I think, because whenever we were talking about it, I knew that to do the maintenance for a fan cooled system was already too much for me.
Yeah.
So water cooling was just no.
Yeah, the water cooling PCs, it's not a routine thing you have to do, cleaning out a water cooling PC, but if something goes wrong in the system, which it's very rarely it does, but it can happen, cleaning it out is a pain. Absolute pain. But fan cooling, if a fan stops working, you take it out and put a new one in.
Yeah.
That's why I like fan cooling. It's so simple and it's a bit cheaper. It's a bit louder, but I mean, in Ethan's case, with his 250mm front fans.
They don't come with any sort of dampener because they don't make it that big, or any mesh because they don't make it that big.
Yep. It's absolutely brilliant. I love it. But yeah,
looks cool,
oh, absolutely, yeah. Looks fantastic. But depending on what you're after, fan cooling might be the way to go, water cooling might be the way to go. You've got to look at the pros and cons for you personally, and if you can afford water cooling. Yeah,
is water cooling, does it keep the PC cooler?
It does, yes. It will overall, on average, keep your PC cooler than fan cooling will. Because you're putting water cooling straight onto the CPU, it's not just air flowing over it.
Yeah.
Like, water cooling actually puts the water on the CPU.
Yeah, it's taking that hot.
It's instant. It is instantly transferring warmth into cold, and it is more efficient overall. But again, pros and cons depending on if you want that. If you need, not many people need water cooling. That's the thing.
Yeah, I definitely don't.
Unless you're doing like 3D rendering with a 40 series card on a Threadripper. Having beastly water cooling isn't a thing. A lot of people find it cool to look at, is the other thing with water cooling, having the pipes with water running through. And I will admit, it is a nice aesthetic to have, but actually getting into your PC, cleaning things out is a bit more of a hassle because there's massive pipes in the way.
I do think some people find it cool, but I think it's quite nice to just have like the key component. Like, I'm looking at my PC right now, and I can see my graphics card, my motherboard, like the actual key, my RAM, my CPU cooler, I like that rather than all these different tubes going all over the show.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, well, to be fair, there's actually one other type of cooling that we haven't talked about.
Oh.
That is also kind of water cooling, but the people who submerge their PCs in, what's it called? I don't know what's called. I'll put it up on the screen. But people who submerge, have you seen it, Ethan, where they submerge their PC components inside of like a tank, and it's filled with this liquid? It's the same liquid that it's a non-conductive liquid. Basically, it's kind of like alcohol, but it's cooling liquid. So people, instead of doing water cooled, where you have fans that cool the water that then go through tubes and into the CPU, they literally just dip their PC in a big tank, and that is their case.
What? That's not.
Which I think it's amazing. You can even see whenever they're doing rendering and stuff, and things are getting hot, you can see it start to boil, like start to bubble, like how you would with water, and then it cools itself down and goes back underneath. That's awesome, but that is very expensive and very much a pain in the ass.
Imagine something cultural with that. I have to just drain this to get in to see.
Yep, just going to drain the entire PC. But yeah, that's the third type of cooling you could do. That one is a pain in the ass.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, no, I'll show you a video whenever we're done this. But yeah, that's insane.
And then in terms of maintenance-wise, what comparing, cleaning the PC, obviously you were saying it was taking a lot longer to, clean it with water cooling, but do you have to do it as regular because, it's not sucking dust?
That is a perfect question. Water cooling, you do not need to clean nearly as much as fan cooling because there isn't dust being dragged into the PC there's no airflow going through the PC anymore. Well, not as much, I should say. Definitely water cooling is a lot more clean than fan cooling is. Because fan cooling, you're drawing air straight through the whole case, which is then also bringing dust and grime and stuff in with it, which is why you do need to clean fan-cooled PCs. Water-cooled PCs, nowhere near as much because there's not actually much air being dragged into the case. It's all being dragged into the tubes to cool the water.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is much, much cleaner.
And then I remember whenever we were designing my PC, it was a big thing looking at, because I have 2 large fans and then 3 smaller fans. I think it ended up being that the 3 smaller fans were exhaust fans and then the 2 larger fans were the intake fans.
Yes.
Generally speaking, you want more exhaust fans than you do intake fans. Is that correct?
You kind of want a 50-50. So because you had the 2 big fans, we couldn't really put those as exhaust fans because they were just too big.
Yeah.
Simple as that. They can only really go on the front as a pull-in. So we didn't really have much of a choice in that.
Yeah.
But usually I try to keep mine about 50-50. Currently I have 3 front fans to draw air in, and I've got an exhaust fan at the top back and 1 exhaust fan at the back. So I've got a wee bit more drawing in than I have extract. But because the reason for that is the only other exhaust I have is at the top of my PC in front of the CPU cooler, which means cold air is going to be drawn out of the top, and I don't want cold air to be drawn out of the top because it needs to go through the PC.
Yeah.
So in terms of my case, the way my case is laid out, that's the best for me. It depends on your case layout and what components you have in your PC.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a smaller CPU fan, then it's a lot easier to put more fans in. But if I've got a big CPU fan, I can't put a fan in front of it because there's not going to be enough air going through that big CPU fan for it to be able to do much. And then my CPU will overheat.
I think as you're saying stuff like this, I see a lot of things that could be potentially wrong with my...
I will come round and have a look at it next time I'm over.
Because your PC is a lot better set out for airflow than mine is, because we had the difficulty of the 2 larger fans.
Yes, indeed. And I'm a cooling...
nerd.
Yeah, that one. You say maestro, then it's like a bit more interesting, but yeah, nerd, yeah, that's more accurate, I feel.
Then CPU coolers, so how they work, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is they have the rods that go down to the CPU to kind of transfer that heat onto the...
Yeah.
And then they cool it at the fan. There's a fan on it that brings it in and cools them, yeah?
Yeah, so the CPU coolers are basically big heat sinks that are very good at collecting heat, or, well, in our case, coldness, and bringing it down through those pipes, which are very good at conducting heat and temperature, into the CPU, directly onto it, and then that's why you also have the paste, the cooler paste on CPUs, because that is very good at also transferring temperature. So it does... CPU coolers do two things. They draw heat away and draw coldness in. So one half of the pipes basically will be drawing heat away, and the other half will be drawing cold in. So it's a constant cycle of heat going out, cold going in, and that just keeps happening whenever your fans are on. So I have the Cyfuma 2, which is basically a cheap Noctua fan cooler. For those who don't know, Noctua is like the best of the best at cooling fan stuff in the PC world. They're absolutely incredible, but you pay for it. You absolutely pay for it. The Cyfuma 2, exactly. Yep. Cyfuma 2 is basically a Noctua fan CPU cooler, but cheaper. That's the only real difference. It's a bit louder, but in terms of cooling, it's about the same as a proper Noctua CPU cooler is, and that's why I bought it, because it's fantastic.
I think mine is Redux. It says Redux on the side of it. Is that one of their...
Never mind. That's Adam, who's Noctua.
Oh.
So yeah, yours is probably Redux.
I can see it on the side.
Yeah, it's probably them then, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, maybe Redux is like a version of Noctua.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I've never had any issues with it, but then I don't push my...
Yeah, again, really depends. Whenever it comes to CPU cooling, it's a very personalised thing. Because if you're going to be playing... For example, we play a lot of strategy games, you and I, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
So CPU cooling is a lot more prevalent than GPU cooling is. Right. Because CPUs run a lot more in strategy games than the GPU does. Therefore, it gets warmer, therefore you need to cool it better. So if you're running strategy games, or if you're running something like... If you're doing 3D rendering, you're going to need a good damn CPU cooler. Because your CPU is going to get very damn hot. Very hot. But because of that, you're not going to need as much airflow onto the RAM or onto the GPU. It's just not... Depending on what you do with your PC, could completely change your cooling setup. Like I said, during the water cooling versus fan cooling, depending on what you do with your PC, you might want water cooling, you might want fan cooling. It's completely personal whenever it comes to cooling a PC.
So, if you could summarize and give us your 3 tips when it comes to cooling to make sure your PC is cooling, or 3 things to look at, or just what would it be?
First off, extract versus pulling in fans.
Mm-hmm.
I see a lot of people have 3 massive fans on the front to pull in and 1 extract fan. There is so much air trapped inside your PC because it can't be pulled out quick enough. There's going to be warm air recirculating inside your PC whenever you don't have enough exhaust fans. There's going to be air coming in, but not enough hot air escaping. So it can't be replaced good enough. So keep an eye on that. If you only have 4 fans, but your front of your PC can take 3 fans, that's fine. Give it 2 fans at the front, 2 at the back. That's better than 3 at the front, 1 at the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big mistake a lot of people do whenever they build a PC. Yeah. Whenever they have limited fans. Number two would probably be check which way your fans go. Because I've seen a lot of people who have put their fans on back to front by accident because they look the exact same back to front. There's usually 1 or 2 minor differences on a fan that actually show you which way it's meant to go. And so their extract fans are actually pulling air in, and then their pulling in air fans are actually extracting. So it's going the complete opposite cycle. I've seen that quite a bit. It's a lot more common than you might think.
Yeah.
Because you look at a PC and you go, hold on a minute, that's not facing the right way.
So, number one tip: feel what the air outside of each fan after you turn it on to double check.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Do that. Absolutely do that. Number 3 for cooling. Make sure to get mesh on the front of your PC.
I can attest.
Wherever your PC is pulling air in, it's not so much of a problem on an extracting fan, but wherever your fans are pulling in air, make sure you have mesh on the front, because your PC will get dirty if you don't have mesh on the front of it. If you have mesh on your PC, run it for a couple months without cleaning it, have a look at the front of your PC, and you will be able to tell there's mesh there, because so much dust.
That is a major issue for me.
Yes,
don't make mesh big enough.
Exactly, yeah. It is a problem. Some cases you might not be able to get it. It's not the end of the world, but it will mean you have to be a bit more vigilant whenever you're cleaning it out, because there will be a lot more dust in there, and you're going to be a bit more thorough.
Or my top tip is befriend a cooling nerd.
Do that, yes. That's number 4 on the list.
That's Ethan's number 1 on the list. But no, I think we learned a lot about keeping cool in the heat wave. Ice pops for yourself. Make sure your fans are the right way. Have an equal number of intake and extracting fans. And use mesh.
Use mesh. Use a lot of mesh.
It's like protection.
Mesh. Exactly. Always use protection.
So now, the final thing on the agenda is we're going to talk about nothing. Just kidding. Ha 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 ha. No.
Stop. Why? We have too much fun on this, don't we?
But nothing is actually I think more of a tech company. I was going to say phone company, but they're more of a tech company. Shay had never heard of them beforehand. They are Carl Pei. I think that's how you pronounce his surname. He was a co-founder of OnePlus, and he has left OnePlus and has now started Nothing. So they started with the Ear Stick, and they were very good. It got quite a lot of positive reviews, and then they released their first phone, which is the Nothing Phone 1. For a lot of people probably haven't heard of Nothing. Shay included.
It's so jarring to hear you say, I've heard about... Most people haven't heard about Nothing. What?
But as a company, they have basically... I think their announcement was all phones in the Android world have stopped innovating. And that the innovators in the market, contrary to what a lot of people say, is Apple. And so they have, taken inspiration from Apple. You can see that in their design language, although there is major differences. They use the sort of similar shape to the iPhone Pro Max or Plus series. They use the same sort of shape to that because it's the most efficient way to design a phone.
Makes sense.
In terms of the layout and stuff. So the major difference, however, comes when you get to the back of the phone, because it is all tapered glass, and you can see all the internals, which is their kind of design language. As a company, they're very focused on design language and aesthetic. They cater towards tech savvy people like ourselves and probably anyone listening to this podcast. So you have the glyph interface. You can program the lights to do a bunch of different cool things, like flash certain ways for specific notifications for specific people. The one at the bottom that's like an exclamation mark can show you your battery percentage if you have it face down on the desk, which is how I set my phone. I don't have it face up, so it always on display doesn't really work for me. And then the coolest thing I think is you can get good like warm light of it for taking pictures of whatever you want to take pictures of. Like if you're getting close up to something, you don't want to use the flash, which is quite a harsh light. You can get that soft glyph light from it. So people look at it and they see it's a gimmick, but I see it's quite usable in my personal life because I take a lot of pictures of products, and you put my phone face down on a desk instead of face up.
I was actually going to say the exact same thing. I was going to say, it looks cool, but what's the point?
Yeah.
I know you've explained that. I'm looking at it going, actually, yeah. No, that absolutely makes sense.
And then I think the thing that gets me the best about it is that they have a very minimalist operating system.
Right.
So Samsung, you get something like 35 pre-installed apps on it. I talked about it a bit last time. Nothing, you have like 5, I think.
Nice, I like that.
Yeah. That's amazing. Very sleek, only what you want on the phone. In terms, and it's not, like a flagship killer or anything like that. It's spec-wise, it would be close to an A54, but if you ask me, I would take a Nothing phone over an A54. Just simply because of the operating system. Nothing OS. And I think it's more usable. It's ergonomically, I'm used to an iPhone, so it would be perfect for me. And yeah, I think, and it's definitely got a lot of people talking. It released July, their first phone released July of last year. The first phone released July of last year, and then 3 months later, I started working in my current job, and that was the first phone that I was shown. It was still being talked about. Like, I think that is quite major, that in itself.
For a smartphone nowadays, 3 months after being released, that's pretty damn good.
That was the first phone I was shown. And bear in mind, I started in October. So, iPhone 14 series had just been released. Google Pixel 7s had just been released. But
wow.
The first thing I was shown was the Nothing Phone 1.
That's very impressive.
And they have announced the release date for the Nothing Phone 2. So it is going to be announced on the 11th of July at 4 p.m. BST, British Standard Time. That's what I love about Nothing as well. It's a UK focused company.
Oh, it makes it so much easier for us.
Yeah. So we might actually do a stream of this.
We could do, yeah.
And their new phone, they've released a teaser for it. It's rumored to have the last year's flagship chipset, which is the Snapdragon Gen 1, I believe, was last year's chipset. It's a phenomenal chip. And I think it's going up. Rumors say it's going to go up in price about £50, so £449. I think that's quite reasonable. It's essentially going to be on par, like performance-wise, probably. Obviously, we don't have the phone. It'll probably be performance-wise go toe-to-toe with a Samsung S22 Ultra. Ultra S22. It'll probably go toe-to-toe with the Samsung S22.
I think that's still reasonable.
Which for a lot cheaper. Most people don't need the extra processing power, and it has a quite cool design and an OS that I prefer. I don't know if everyone prefer, because obviously Samsung One UI is, it's when people think about Android, it's probably the first thing that comes to their head. Not even the Pixels base Android comes to mind. And in terms of the teaser, it has tentacles this year. Last year it had a parrot. Now I have a theory.
Oh, a theory.
So the parrot was their kind of mascot that it was released beside last year. Now when I think of a parrot, I think of something that stands out, something very colourful, show it, very aesthetic, it stands out. I think that's what it achieved that. It was the parrot on, because even every other phone on display, nothing gets as much looks.
Yeah.
And then this year's tentacles. Now, when I think of tentacles, I don't know what you think of, Shay, but I think of like having a lot of like, far-reaching, a lot of, fingers in different pies. It's able to do quite a lot,
Yeah, I got you.
So I'm really excited to see what they come up with, because they've got a new switch on the back as well in some of the teasers or leaks that's been released. So I'm very excited to see what comes along.
You thinking the tentacles are showing us a lot of new things are coming?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a lot of new things. It'll be like a jack of all trades phone.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. I may pick one up, but yeah,
we may have a review on your Instagram whenever it comes out.
Yeah, and in terms of company, they're very open to learning about other companies, like learning from them, which I love as a company. It's not like Apple that doesn't acknowledge that there is other phone companies, or that, you know, Samsung, which has almost got, you know, steady, it got, you know, comfortable in the market.
Yeah.
Their CEO and founder Cobre actually has a series on the Northern YouTube channel that I love, where it's him reviewing other smartphones.
Fantastic.
And he
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and when he talks about them, he talks about what they do well, where nothing could learn from them. So the S23 Ultra, for example, he said they could learn from how Samsung was using their AI to tweak images and get a better image overall. He says we could learn from this, you know, get a better resolution for their customers. I think that's fantastic.
It's little acts like that would make me want to buy from a company like that.
Yeah. So like, if you haven't seen them, I would honestly recommend checking them out. He does OnePlus and even the iPhone. But yeah, it's a tech brand focused on those who love tech. I think that is their people. So something I want to get we talked about John in the past. Someone, he's very an audiophile.
Yes.
Their earbuds, you can, you know, tweak them so that you can tweak them so that they sound perfect for your ears. I would love to see what he would do with something like that.
Yeah, like a proper equalizer.
Yeah, like you can go in and, you know, turn up that bass, turn down that, I don't know all the terms for when it comes to
treble.
Yeah, like, and then, you know, tweak them so that they sound perfect for you. I think
he'd love a set of them.
Yeah, I think he would play with them for hours. And their design language is phenomenal. They kind of go for this like plasticky glassy kind of back where you can see into all the what's going on inside. I love it.
Nice. I like that.
Although I did see a picture of their assembly line, and so they don't get any dust or anything on it, and because it's really hard to do. It's like humidifiers are everywhere, so they're probably a lot warmer right now than we are.
I feel bad for them workers.
Yeah, but that ties it into the heatwave special of the Technically Speaking podcast. So you'll definitely hear more of Nothing in the future from me, especially because I am definitely a fan.
I love hearing about Nothing.
Whisper sweet nothings into your
yes.
It's such a good brand. I love it. Do you know where the name comes from?
Where? Nowhere.
But I love them as a company. I think they're an amazing company. And I think their products are good.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love that back design of the phone. I think that actually looked very nice.
Yeah.
And the fact that it actually has a purpose as well, multiple purposes, love that.
Yeah, everyone looks at it and goes, like, what's going on there? Is it a gimmick? But then as I start like explaining to what you can do with it, they're like, oh, that's actually quite... Yeah, I quite like that.
Because I'm also the same as you, where I usually put my phone face down.
Yeah.
So the always on display isn't used as much for me. But having to be able, like you said, having to be able to have a quick look at what your battery percentage is from the back of the phone, that's amazing. Fantastic.
And have it flash a certain way whenever you get, you know, like a notification from, you know, your partner, your mum, your dad.
Oh,
so
that's
you know,
nice.
You know, like whenever it's someone you don't want to talk to, it flashes, you know, that way, and you're like, oh, I don't even have to pick a photo.
It flashes red, sirens go off. Alert, alert.
Ignore, or it doesn't flash at all. I think that is amazing. Thank you for joining us for the Heatwave special.
It is quite warm.
It's not the heat that gets you, it's the humidity.
That's the one.
But if you want to see more from us, subscribe, hit the bell, like other things that everyone else always says to do.
Comment.
Yeah, it's good for the algorithm.
Apparently.
And if you want to check out more of Shay, where can they find you?
They can have a look at the description. Click on the link tree, go to my YouTube channel. I also have an Instagram, but there's like 3 shorts on it, so you can't skip that.
The rest of the ones are all mine. I've posted. And then if you want to hear more from me and me talking about nothing, please check out my Instagram. I should have some interesting new content coming, possibly, but well, don't hold your breath.
You're gonna make a post on nothing?